Yo guys, what's going on? I am Justin from MLB Baseball Blogs, continuing the 30 clubs and 30 recaps. Now we had a schedule planned out. I actually do not have the schedule in front of me. I know I have to do the Padres one by myself. Tim already did his with KJ, and he said he's not going to redo it. So I'm here to do a couple of teams today. So right now I'm going to start off with the Kansas City Royals. Right now, Kansas City last year improved. Division-wise, they were in last place in 2010. 2011, they won 71 games, but they had another down year at 91 losses. They finished in fourth place in the AL Central, hoping to try to improve record-wise this year with some minor talent and a big talent coming into their bullpen this year. So talking about that, let's go on to their key accusations that they got heading into this season. Now, when you look at their pitching rotation and in their bullpen, they got Jonathan Broxton, who's going to possibly be the setup role for none other than Joakim Soria, who is the current closer for the team. Broxton's coming in here after spending an extraordinary amount of time out there in Los Angeles, the Dodgers, that is. So he's going to be coming home. He's going to be staying in the. He's going to be transitioning over from the National League over to the American League. Let's see how well he plays out there. Also, Jonathan Sanchez, National League to the American League, another division jump. Now, they traded away Melky Cabrera to get Jonathan Sanchez. His team was trying to help improve this pitching rotation. And when you look at their pitching rotation, it's pretty decent, but we'll get into there. I mean, it's all right, but adding some new blood could help in a lot of different ways. They got Jose Marias. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but it's like Jose Mariges. I think he's coming over from the Minnesota Twins. I don't know a whole lot about him. I'm pretty sure he's coming over from the Minnesota Twins. I heard about him play for the Twins before. Some minor league moves. Kevin Kuzminoff is coming over from the Colorado Rockies. That's nothing. He can hit for average, pretty much. Plays third base. Plays very great defensive baseball. But also, they also got Yuniesky Betancourt, who's going to be on the 40-man roster. Obviously, very great, talented shortstop. He is returning after I think a year or two out from leaving Kansas City. He's coming back from the Milwaukee Brewers, and I can see him being really, really fit at home. So let's check out their lineup right now. At catcher's position, they got none other than Salvador Perez, the young catcher coming from Venezuela. Now, I saw some film on him, a pretty talented prospect in the Royals fantastic farm system. They use their farm system very well, and this is one of the guys where they can possibly circle around here in the near future. I think Tim talking about this before I made the video. I think he's 21 years old. Last year in 39 games, he hit one batting average of 331. This guy can hit is an average type of catcher. He can hit some. He has some power on him. He had 3 home runs last year, and that's only in the 39 games. I think he was like call up when Jason Kendall went down, leaving like Brian Pena, and also giving Salvador Perez the time up in the majors. So he's going to be the opening day starter, and let's see what this guy can help him out. See how well this guy can help out the team. Now, looking at the backup, you got Brian Pena, who last year appeared in 72 games. He hit 248 last year with 3 home runs, 24 RBIs. I think He's gonna be a pretty decent backup for Salvador Perez. He's like that average type of guy. So that's pretty much what you're gonna get out of him. Backing in the third catcher on the roster, you got Manny Pina. Pina, whatever you want to pronounce his name. He only appeared in 4 games last year. He's most likely going to be starting the season down in the AAA level. So let's make a jump over to first base, and one of the power bats on this team, you got none other than Eric Hosmer. I think it was he appeared in 128 games, and I think he split time with Billy Butler, who spends time as a DH right now. He appeared in 128 games, really skyrocketed. He got 19 home runs, 70 RBIs, and batted almost close to 300. This is a solid first baseman. This guy has a lot of talent, and if he uses them correctly, this guy can be over a 25 to close to a 30 home run guy. And I do have a lot of expectations for him going into this season. He's going to be something this year, everybody. You also got to look at Mike Moustakas over at third baseman, which we'll get into here in a few. Now, when you look at DH slash the backup to Eric Hosmer and Billy Butler, now when you look at this guy, over the past year, he had a pretty great year. It's a better 2011 season than the 2010 season. He had upgrades and none other than the home run position. Where in 2010 he had 15. Last year he had 19. And RBI wise, in 2010 he got 78 RBIs, and this past year in 98. Average went down though when he finished up the year. In 2010 he batted 318. Last year he batted 291. Now, pretty solid. He can hit for power. Obviously, he can hit. He's a solid 25 home run hitter. I think you can put him at 25 home runs this year. I think he's going to have a continue. I think he's going to continue what he left off from last year with the Kansas City Royals. Now, when you look over at second base, you got the brand new name in this organization, one of the top second basemen down in the minor leagues that this Kansas City Royals club has, as Johnny Giavotella. This guy is something. He had some time up there in the majors. I think it was close to near end of the season last year. He appeared in 46 games, a 247 batting average, 2 home runs, 21 RBIs. This speedster is gonna be dangerous on the base path. This guy is an average type of hitter. He only hit 2 home runs, 21 RBIs in 46 games. That's pretty impressive. And this guy is like, it's like a Brett Gardner type, but in the infield. So this guy is very dangerous on the base path. If you have him on base and Eric Hosmer and Mike Moustakas, the two big power bats on this roster, and they can get a base hit, this guy will be at home like that if he's on second. So he's a really great, decent second baseman as of right now. Let's just see if he can live up to the expectations what the Royals have for him this upcoming year. Backing him up, you got Chris Getz. I heard of Chris Getz a whole lot around the majors, but I haven't really concentrated on him in one full year. Last year he had 108. He played in 118 games with the Kansas City Royals. Didn't hit any home runs. He's more of that average type of hitter. 26 RBIs. It was just nothing really special for him. He served as I think backup, this backup second baseman. I don't know who it was at the time. But yes, once again, it's another average type of guy. Get on base. He can be pretty dangerous. He's a very speed. He's just like Johnny Giavotella. So he's another speed guy. You can really get on base. More of a pinch runner type of guy on this roster. Now, going over to the shortstop position, you got nice competition between Alcides Escobar and Yuniesky Betancourt. But let's start off with Alcides Escobar with his numbers last year. Appeared in 158 games. He had 548 at-bats, 4 home runs, 46 RBIs with a 254 average. Another speedster. This team has a lot of speed when it comes to these young guys. Excuse me there. 4 home runs, 46 RBIs with a 254 average. He's just like Giavotella and Chris Getz, an average type of shortstop, plays great defense, and he is also dangerous on the base path. This guy has great speed, and this guy can play out of his mind at times. He plays a lot of great defensive baseball. He's also a great guy to have at shortstop, so plays great defense. He's always good to have on your roster. When you look at Yuniesky Betancourt last year with the Milwaukee Brewers, he along with Prince Fielder, Ricky Weeks, that team was stacked from top to bottom. And Yuniesky Betancourt, let's look at his totals for all of last year. Then I don't think you guys would really care about the playoffs. The Brewers were eliminated in the NLCS. 13 home runs, 68 RBIs, and he had 252. He's more of a in-between type of guy, an average power hitter. He can hit you about 15 home runs. Looking at his career, he has hit over 15 home runs, and that was in 2010 where he was with Kansas City at the time, and then now he's returning, and I can pretty much see he's very, very fan-favorited in this Kansas City Royals type of atmosphere in that stadium, so he's not going to have a big problem getting reconnected with his old team. So he's going to be a big mentor to Alcides Escobar, who can really help him out because he's been on this team before, and he's just ready to get back to playing with the Kansas City Royals team. Now, when you look at over at third base, you got another young, talented guy, just like Eric Hosmer. You got Mike Moustakas. Mike Moustakas last year played in 89 games. I think Hosmer got called up, and then Moustakas got called up, I think, about a few weeks or a month afterwards. I didn't really pay attention to a lot of Kansas City Royals baseball last year, but this guy, he had 5 home runs, 30 RBIs with a 263 average. Now, when you look at him, I think that he's a big power bat in this lineup. I think he's a solid 15 to 20 home run hitter, and that's where I'll put him at. I'll put him maybe between 20 home runs and 24 home runs. If he got over and beyond 25, I would have him as it's a great season. He's a really great young batter, and if this team uses him well, I can see this guy being the face of this franchise along with Eric Hosmer. I mean, these two guys are just going to battle it out as the face of this franchise for the years to come. They had these guys down in the minor league system. Now this is their big shot at getting into the show. Backing him up, got Chris Getz, Yuniesky Escobar, as the backups to third base for Moustakas. Now let's go over to let's head to the outfield where we'll pick it up at right field with Jeff Francoeur. Jeff Francoeur had a great season last year. I heard there was a lot of trade rumors surrounding him that he could have been traded over to the San Francisco Giants, but last year he spent time with the Kansas City Royals, obviously. He appeared in 153 games. He did not go anywhere. He was a big bat to this roster. He had a slow start to the season, but he was able to reconcile his season. He did have a great total of home runs, 20 home runs in the past, I think, 6 or 7 years. I think back in 2006 as well as the last time he hit over 20 home runs, but he had a solid year. He's solid at 20 home runs, 87 RBIs, and he had a 285 average. I have this feeling that he's gonna pick up from where he left off last year, but I hope he just has a great start to the season this year, and let's hope that he doesn't slow down in the beginning wise if this Royals team is going to try and improve and contend in this division. Now, backing him up, you got Mitch Maier. Last year, he had 44 game appearances for the Kansas City Royals. No home runs, 7 RBIs, and a 232 average. He's most likely going to be a bench type of guy who's going to come in there maybe if a pinch runner if it comes in that position, or a pinch batter if they don't really have that much of a power hitter. When you look at their backup behind Mitch Maier, you got Jarrod Dyson. Jarrod Dyson, I think he was with the team last year in 2010, and he was with the team for a short time last year as also. He's not that type of home run guy. He's a speedy outfielder. I don't know who's a good comparison to him as of right now, because he has not had one full season. He only appeared in 44 games in his whole MLB career, and he's going to get a big shot. Most likely, he's going to be starting off the season possibly down in AAA until maybe if perhaps like Francoeur is put on the DL, Lorenzo Cain or Alex Gordon's put on the DL, then they're going to call up Dyson. So it's just going to be a matter of time until this guy gets his shot. Now, when you look behind Dyson, you also got Lorenzo Cain, which he's going to be the starting center fielder for this team heading into this upcoming season. Lorenzo Cain, this is somebody who I also do not know a whole lot about, but when you look at him, I'm looking right off his stats. Another average type of hitter, a 273 batting average, does not hit for power. He did appear in 6 games. He was a big part of the trade. I think it was for Zach Greinke in 2010. He appeared in 43 games for Milwaukee, only 1 home run, 13 RBIs, and this team says, I'm pretty confident that this young, talented Lorenzo Cain is going to put a big impact on this outfield, and I do agree with the Kansas City Royals 100%. Give him a good shot, and I think this guy can give you a solid maybe 5 or 6 home run season, because he's not that big power type of outfield like a Curtis Granderson who can give you over 40 home runs. He's not going to be like that. But I see maybe 5-10 home runs this year could be pretty suitable for Lorenzo Cain. Now, when you look him up, I already talked about Mitch Maier, Jarrod Dyson. You got to go over to left field, where Alex Gordon's going to be playing, and the backups are the same. You got Maier, Dyson, Lorenzo Cain. Alex Gordon last year tried to and vamped his baseball career. I know he spent time down in the minor leagues last year for a short period of time, but the Royals are like, okay, you really improved us and like record-wise and not record-wise. What am I saying? Minor league-wise, we could give you one more shot. And he appeared in 151 games. I know he had like a small stint down in the minors, and this guy went off last year. This guy was very special, a 303 batting average for young Alex Gordon. I'm an Alex Gordon fan, not but just reading off these stats. I know what this guy is capable of. He can play the infield at time to time, but outfield is where it's at for him. 23 home runs, 87 RBIs. This guy is a solid 25 home run hitter, and he's going to play a big pivotal role in that batting average, that batting lineup. And I do have a lot of expectations for Alex Gordon heading into the season. I think he can hit. He's going to to hit a solid 25 home runs, no doubt about it. He was a young, talented prospect, and he did have a slowdown year in 2010. I think he had an injury-wise, and he also spent time down in the majors. Nothing was really popping for him. He had 8 home runs, 20 RBIs in 2010, and then he revamped. He's clean. He's all ready to play baseball in 2011, and look what he can do: 23 home runs, 87 RBIs, and had a career high in batting average at a 303. So Alex Gordon is going to be something in this upcoming season. So let's go and make a transition over from their lineup to their pitching rotation with Luke Hochevar as their opening day starter. Now, this is a guy who had a complete down. Well, he had a not the greatest of seasons. I do have a lot of expectations. I think he's getting that big shot. Jeff Francis, I think it was the team's opening day starter, and I know we all know how that worked out. He's now playing with the Cincinnati Reds right now. But Luke Hochevar is going to be playing a big pivotal role because when you look at this, Bruce Chen, Jonathan Sanchez, Paulino, Danny Duffy, Luis Mendoza as the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and Mendoza is going to be competing with Duffy for that 5th role. You really got to look at. I know Luke Hochevar is going to have to be the ace on this squad. And you guys are like, oh, what about Jonathan Sanchez, who had a big year, I think, back in 2009. Last year, Sanchez didn't do too well, but I'll get to that here in a few. Luke Hochevar, I always call him Luke Hochevar. Last year, he was 11-11 with a 4.68 ERA. He can give you about 200 innings. Last year, he had 198. He does give up some home runs at time to time. He gave up 23 home runs last year, and he had 128 strikeouts. So this guy's going to be playing a big pivotal role, and if this team's really going to contend, you really have to get some run support for Luke Hochevar because this guy could be something here in the next few years. Now, going up to number 2, you got Bruce Chen. Now, Bruce Chen had a great year last year, 12-8 with a 3.77 ERA. I'm surprised that he wasn't the opening day starter. I wasn't really focused in on Jeff Francis at all. This guy just didn't have it a whole lot in Colorado, except after a couple of years he had some pretty decent seasons. But last year for the Royals, Francis did not perform well. Hochevar served, I think, the number 3 pitcher on their rotation, and Bruce Chen, who was thinking about, you know what, am I going to return to this Kansas City Royals team? I heard a couple of teams were interested in him, like the San Francisco Giants had a small interest in him, the Minnesota Twins had a small interest in him, and also the Royals also found interest, and they were able to re-sign him to, I think, a 2-year or a year deal, and I think this guy could really bring something to the plate. 12-8 last year with a 3.77 ERA in 25 games. He can give you about over 100 and 150 innings in 1 year. He really controls his pitches. He could be something. And with 97 strikeouts, he can really perform well. And of course, he has those off days where he has those off pitching days where the team really gets on him. So he could be a solid number 2 pitcher for this squad. Now, when you look at number 3, you got Jonathan Sanchez making his transition over from National League to American League. Now, last year with none other than the San Francisco Giants, 4-7, a complete down year prior to his 2010 campaign with the Giants where he was 13-9. He was 4-7 last year with a 4.26 ERA in 19 games with the Giants. He gave up 9 home runs, and he had a solid 100 strikeouts last year. Now, I cannot really tell you how well Jonathan Sanchez pitches against when he was with the Giants when they play an interleague matchup. All I can really say about Jonathan Sanchez is let's just see what this guy is made of in the American League. Going over to the number 4 hold, you got Felipe Paulino. Wow, nothing really connected the dots with this guy last year, and I was like, what team would really sign him? I heard the Baltimore Orioles were thinking about bringing him in, but most likely it probably is a type of bullpen type of personnel on that team. Last year it was 4-10 with a 4.46 ERA. 13 home runs given up. It was just an awful season, but what really gave positive was his 133 strikeouts he consumed last year against other teams, and that's the only thing that really popped for this guy. I think he can really improve in some places, and I don't really see him as that solid number 4 guy. I can see him rounding up the rotation as a number 5, but I don't really think that number 4 hold's really going to fit him, and he's going to run into some trouble this year. I don't really have a whole lot to say on Paulino right now. Now, when you look at number 5, you got Danny Duffy, you got Luis Mendoza. Let's talk about Danny Duffy last year. Danny Duffy came up, I think, middle of the season, I'm pretty sure. Um, Not middle of the season. What am I saying, Danny Duffy? He played 20 games last year. He was 4-8 with a 5.64 ERA. I think in my book, he was kind of rushed up to the majors. This team was really looking for some. They're trying to bring up their rookies, and they rushed some top end guys up to the minor leagues, up to the major leagues, and Danny Duffy was one of them. And last year, just nothing really connected the dots, just like Felipe Paulino. But this guy's still young. He still has it, and let's see what this guy is made of. He can give you about 100 innings, and that's what he got. That's what the Kansas City Royals got. But once again, nothing was really connected the dots. His fastball was always hit. It went out of the yard. He gave up 15 home runs last year, 87 strikeouts. So he's going to be in competition with Luis Mendoza for that number 5 hold. Now, when you look at Luis Mendoza last year, I don't even think he actually made a major league squad last year. I think he spent most of his time down in the minors or he's playing overseas. But last year he did play 2 games though, which I'm reading off of the Royals website right now. He was 2-0 with a 1.23 ERA and he struck out 7. Now, I'm all for the Royals. This team is a very young, talented team. Luis Mendoza, he's pretty. I haven't really connected the dots with this guy. I don't know a whole lot about him, but he's going to be competing with Danny Duffy for that 5th role. Now, when I think about it, you can go either or in this one. You can give Luis Mendoza the shot at being in the rotation for a small period of time if the Royals really want to go a 6-man rotation, but that could ruin a lot of things. I don't even think why a team would do that. But I think they're going to solid it up with Danny Duffy, hopefully get him a shot. If nothing really connects, you can possibly send him down to the minors where he can try to get his strengths back up to size and probably help him out or bring him back up maybe in August. Possibly if the Royals do have a long distance away from a possible division tie or possible a playoff run. So Danny Duffy, I think he's going to be a solid number 4 if Paulino does go back to the number 5. But I really do think Paulino should be the number 5 and Danny Duffy being that number 4. So let's go over to their bullpen with none other with some solid type of bullpen pitchers. You got Soria, who I think led the majors in saves last year. If I'm pretty sure he had a pretty beast year. He really held that bullpen to. He really held that bullpen. Like, it was just great. This bullpen, really talented. He really got, with the addition of Jonathan Broxton, I know he had a down year this year, but I have a feeling that Broxton's really going to bring something special this year. With him being the setup guy to Joakim Soria, last year, who was 5-5, he did blow occasional games, but he did win some. He appeared in 60 games. He had 35 saves last year and 60 strikeouts. Now, when you look into this year, I can see him continuing what he did last year, but minus. Let's see if he can control his pitches and try not to blow out any games. So there's nothing really you can be really concerned about Joakim Soria. Now, when you look at Jonathan Broxton, who was one of the first guys signed this offseason, he was 1-2 last year with a 5.68 ERA. His ERA was just like his run support was not the greatest, and he just really his pitches just really like mean a lot. I mean, his pitches were just hittable, and that really brought his ERA up. Last year, he gave up 2 home runs. He only had 10 strikeouts. He also had a fair deal with injuries, which really put him on the block last year, only appearing in 14 games. So he's trying to revamp his 2010 career and force it into 2011 and see what he really can do. Now we're 23 minutes into this video. I'm going to try to hurry this up. Let's go up to the late inning relievers with Aaron Crow. Now this is a guy you can also put in the bullpen, not in the bullpen. Oh, obviously we are in the bullpen, but in the starting rotation here in the near future. Last year he was 4-4 with a 2.76 ERA with 65 strikeouts. He could be placed into the starting rotation if nothing really connects the dots at all. And I see him play down in the minor leagues. I do see. On occasional, I do check out MILB.com, which is the minor league baseball site, and I do check out some highlights because I do follow all things baseball. I'm a big minor type of guy. I like looking at prospects, see how well their work is done, how close are they to making the majors. And Aaron Crow really breaks news down in the minor leagues a lot, and he's getting a fair share of time up here in the majors. And let's see what he really can do. Now you got another guy who's coming back up. You got Vin Mazzaro. My God, I remember last year when Tim said Vin Mazzaro was the ace of the squad, and he was I think the second. Maybe I don't know. I know he made the rotation last year along with Sean O'Sullivan, and last year he just really nothing really connected dots. I mean, seriously, this was a guy who pretty had a not the greatest of season with the Oakland Athletics in 2010. I mean, pretty decent. He was 6-8 with the 4.27 ERA with 79 strikeouts in Oakland before coming over to the Kansas City Royals. This guy was always hittable. You can always get something off of him. He walked a lot of guys in his 7 games there. He was 1-1 with an 8.26 ERA, and he's most likely going to be served as an early inning reliever if Paulino does not get out of innings, if Duffy doesn't get out of innings, and if Mendoza's in there, he can't get out of innings. You can bring in Mazzaro and have him do work. So that's really where he's going to be at. In other pitchers in that bullpen, you got Blake Wood, you got Coleman, you got Luis Coleman, you got Herrera, which is Kelvin Herrera. When you look at this, I think this Royals team has really improved in the bullpen, but with their other signings like Kevin Kuzminov, who's going to be starting the season most likely down in AAA, I have this team possibly finishing up in 4th place. This team is stacked from top to bottom, but I think this team's going to have a pretty hot start to the season, which they do every year, but coming into the later games where they have more competition, like the Boston Red Sox coming into their stadium and them going on the road to face off against like the Yankees, the Boston Red Sox, and other American League teams, I can see a late and down type of month in maybe July, which will bring this team down pretty near late to the season, and that's really going to bring this team down. But I think this team, with their young, talented infield, outfield, and their bullpen having a big improvement with the acquirement of Broxton, who still has yet to prove what he can really do in the American League, this team could be maybe a 73 to 72 win type of team, and I have them in 4th place. I think this is going to be a pickup year from last year. They're going to be close to improving. You got Gio Vitale, who's going to be the full-time second baseman. Hosmer's going to have a full year. Moustakas is going to have a full year. Excuse me. It's just a matter of time until we see the Kansas City Royals have that big signing that can really help this team out in the future and can really make a playoff push for this team in the future. So I have this team heading it off in 4th place. Make sure to check us out in our next team preview. I'm possibly going to be doing the San Diego Padres. We're kind of mixed up on the schedule right now, but I am behind a couple of teams, so I really got to pick it up. So the Kansas City Royals, I think they'll finish in 4th place, and that's where I'll put this off at, guys. Make sure to subscribe. Tell everybody to come check out our show. The website's going to be really updated within the next few days. So I'm trying to change the website around a little bit, try to get it a little easier to navigate around. So that's where I'll put this video out, guys. I hope you guys have a great weekend. Happy Saturday. Just enjoy a nice weekend. Baseball season is just right around the corner. We're close to spring training, guys. Just enjoy the rest of your week, guys. I'll see you guys later.